Remarkable people overcoming remarkable challenges with resilience, dedication, community, and grit. Listen as they share their stories of overcoming adversity. Open your eyes to what is genuinely possible for all of us. Authentic Adversity with host Chris Howe.
Welcome back to another episode of the Authentic Adversity podcast. Today, we chat with a friend of mine that actually we met online. This is our first time chatting face to face. I mean, through a screen, of course. But he's an apprentice chef in New Zealand. He has an amazing story of recovery. I've been following his social media for quite some time, and we have a lot of back and forth between each other. He's doing a lot of great things for people in recovery. He's a very inspirational dude. This is Danyon Fairbrother.
Hey, man, how are you?
I'm great, man. How are you?
Yeah, really good. Really grateful. It's a pleasure
man.
and an honor to be a part of this, man.
Well, thank you so much. It means a lot. It's really nice, like we were saying before we started to record, to be able to connect with people all over the world. With technology, you follow somebody for a certain amount of time and you kind of get an idea of who somebody is, but you don't actually have a conversation. So this is great for me to actually meet you and have a conversation, and a deep one at that, and to be able to coordinate it with time zones and everything like that. I mean, we're on different days right now. So, it's been very cool to have that opportunity. And I really do want to thank you, for being open and contributing to the channel.
No, awesome, man. Like I said, it's an honor and a privilege, bro. It's cool.
Yeah, man. Okay, so as I mentioned, you're from New Zealand. Generally, when I interview somebody, I like to kind of paint a picture. I'd like to know sort of like what it was like for you growing up, and then kind of take us through a journey, how you got to, certain points in your life, and adversities that you may have come across in life, and how did you overcome them and where you are today. So, I'll let you take it from here. Tell us about your childhood.
Yeah, definitely, man. So, originally, I was born in Christchurch, Burwood Hospital. A majority of my childhood was definitely troubling. A lot of it came down to being undiagnosed with ADHD. So from, primary school to say 12 years old, I wasn't diagnosed with ADHD, but then it got to 12 and then I was diagnosed with ADHD. So from about 5 to 12, I was labeled as a naughty kid.
Talk about that for a second, because I think this happens a lot with kids these days. It's, we're either mislabeling them as bad kids, or we're labeling them too fast and diagnosing them at a super young age and putting them on meds and this sort of thing. It's kind of a touchy subject. And, for yourself, what was that like with, living with ADHD as a child, but not knowing what it was? And you must have felt like, different from everybody, and not being able to put a name to how you felt, or to actually be able to express those emotions properly.
Oh, it was really hard, man. Really hard on myself and really hard on my parents. You know what I mean? Because, that label of, naughty kid, bad kid definitely stuck with me throughout my life. And it definitely created a core belief that I kind of carried out and started to believe, you know what I mean? And which, when you're told something and it's repetitive, you start to believe it. And so it was really troubling and really hard, man. I was taken out of class and put with the caretaker, and I knew from a very young age that I wasn't a normal, a normal kid. I wasn't like the other kids, and yeah, it was really troubling, and it has been troubling. Like when I say I was diagnosed with ADHD, I'm pretty sure they chucked a whole bunch of other labels at me too. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It wasn't just ADHD; it was a whole bunch of other things, and yeah, it was really confronting. And then all of a sudden, I'm on medication. You know what I mean? And then, and then I realized that the medication, when I grew up and got a bit older, I realized that the medication they were putting me on was worth money. You know what I mean? And then it kind of all spiraled out of control. You know what I mean? And that kind of opened up the gate to a whole new level.
And so you were labeled as that bad kid and then put to a boarding school. At what age did you go to the boarding school for?
Yeah, so I can't actually specifically remember. Obviously, it was a
Okay.
long time ago now, but it was
Hmm.
roughly, I'd say probably would have been 12, 13, 14 in that
Yeah.
area. So I would have been in that boarding school for about a year. It
Okay.
was an all male school, so it was a
Hmm.
boys home. It was rough, man. It was pretty out there. Like
Yeah.
obviously, like I said, I was a pretty troubled kid. So what they'd have in that boarding school was like a timeout room. So it was basically it was a cell. So basically, like if I was playing up or there was disruption or arguments or whatever, they'd put you into the cell with no toilet, no anything,
Okay.
and they'd leave you in there until you calm down, or their perception of calm down. You know what I mean? It
Right.
was rough. Like it
Yeah.
was it was pretty full on, man. But at the end of the day, when I went into that boarding school, I probably excelled more than I ever did when I was in primary school and stuff. For the simple fact it was a really small classroom, so it
Okay.
wasn't heaps of kids. It
Right.
was it was more concentrated on, I think there might have been like 5 or 6 kids rather than
Yeah.
30. You know what I
Okay.
mean?
Interesting. Yeah, for sure. So, where do you go from there then? Like, that's around the same time that you're diagnosed and you were in this school for about a year. Um, what happens after that?
Yeah, so basically it ended up, being kicked out of school, then obviously going into high school. Like I said, I kind of learned that the Ritalin that they had me on was worth money, so I started selling that, which then opened up a portal to drugs. I kind of already knew, about cannabis and alcohol and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Started dabbling in that probably around 14, 15.
Okay.
Cigarette, stuff like that. Started to find those vices, started to gravitate towards those external things to make me feel better.
Right.
Um, and then, yeah, it all kind of just become quite dysfunctional. You know what I mean? Well, more dysfunctional than it already was. And
Sure.
like, my parents split up when I was like 1, so I'm very grateful, to have 2 dads. I've got a stepdad
Okay.
and a biological father, and my stepdad's been in my life since I was like 1. So
Oh,
he's been
wow.
a massive support as well. And basically, yeah, they'd share custody when I was a kid. So I'd
Right.
go to my dad's, and he's got other kids as well. So I've got quite a lot of brothers and sisters.
Okay.
Yeah, like schooling was a struggle, man. Like I could never really sit in that classroom and properly comprehend what they were teaching me.
Right.
My head would just go somewhere else, mate. Like
Yeah.
I couldn't understand, and I still struggle with that stuff today, man. You know what I mean? Like I just
Hmm.
feel that school just wasn't for me. It's hard.
Yeah. For sure, it would be tough, and you've got other things going on with medications and then getting into drug use, alcohol, this kind of thing. I mean, it's pretty easy to lose interest in school, but also if it's challenging for you, I mean, why why would you keep you know what I mean? Like for me, that it was really challenging for me too. And when I found drugs and alcohol, it was like, well, school, we'll put that to the side. This is the stuff that
Yeah.
makes me feel good. I feel like I'm good at doing drugs and drinking. So I'm
Oh,
not good at
definitely.
school. So I wanted to go where I felt I excelled. And, of course it led me to a really dark place, but so it was the same sort of thing for you.
Oh, 100%, man. And I
Hmm.
found, like, when I found the drugs and the alcohol and stuff like that, mainly the drugs in the high school, I'd use the drugs to cope through the high school. So when I was sitting in that
Yeah,
classroom, I was wasted. You know what I mean?
sure.
And so
Yeah.
it was, yeah, it was pretty rough, man. And obviously, when I was in primary and labeled that bad kid, it carried, that stigma carried out through high school. And, I had special, help and a teacher aide and special treatment
Okay.
and stuff like that. And I guess that's been a common theme throughout my life, is that, um, I've had the special attention. I've had this, and I guess part of my personality is liked it because it's kind of made me feel special. It's made me feel different. But then on the other hand, it's it's caused all sorts of issues, because I guess the other kids look at me and go, well, why is he so, you know what I mean?
Right.
It creates a whole different dynamic.
For sure. For somebody who already doesn't feel like they have a place in life, to be now centered out and having special attention, and the other kid, that's definitely, and I can relate to that for sure. At what point, so you ended up, like, were you fighting a lot? Were you getting into like other trouble, besides drugs and alcohol?
Yeah, definitely. So
Yeah.
I've always had really serious anger problems.
Mm-hmm.
And there was definitely, bits and pieces of violence
Yeah.
throughout the whole stage of schooling, you know what I mean? From primary to high school, that, I was angry. Not so much like fighting. I think I would have definitely got into a few fights, don't get me wrong, but it was more me having tantrums, bro. It was more that little inner child screaming and resurfacing itself all the time. And I didn't know what it was, man. It's not until like the last, couple of years that I've really understood and acknowledged and realized I even have an inner child inside. And,
yeah. Well, that's really important too. And I think a lot of us don't look at that until it's gotten too late. And that, we are acting out as a result of that inner child and what that child didn't receive, growing up. And I'm in treatment still, dealing with childhood stuff. And I think many of us in recovery, that's where we have to look. It starts early, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's a very important thing. And I think it definitely gets swept under the carpet in the way of, like I've gone to a lot of professional psychologists and counselors and stuff like that. And don't get me wrong, they definitely touch on the inner child, but in the way of being a consistent thing. Like sometimes, you have a couple of sessions and it's kind of left there. But like you're saying, you're still dealing with that stuff now. It's a lifelong journey, you know what I mean? And I feel that's, a really strong message, that this isn't just, like I'm not recovered, you know what I mean? I'm only that one decision and one choice away from fucking up my whole life again, you know what I mean? And for me, it's, the drugs and alcohol have definitely been a problem. But to be honest, like when I peel back that onion, probably one of my biggest problems is self-sabotage, man. You know what I mean? Like I've built things up in the past to literally burn them down, and I've become addicted. I was addicted to lighting things on fire, basically, and watching them burn, because I didn't feel worthy. I didn't have enough self-love. I didn't understand it. You know what I mean? So it's, really important to acknowledge that inner child, because, for me, he's always there. He's, and when I'm doing the right things, he's happy. You know what I mean? And it's just trying to, feed him that positivity, which is hard, especially in this,
it really is,
this world, man. It's
it takes a lot, and it's like you had mentioned, it's a lifelong thing. It's a continuous journey that we're working on, that inner child, and trying to fix and heal the traumas of the past, and a lot of it, like we had both said, from early childhood when we didn't know any better and our lives were shaped in a certain way, right? This episode of the Authentic Adversity podcast is brought to you and sponsored by Another Road Drug and Alcohol Treatment Center. Another Road offers a client-centered recovery program tailored to every individual's circumstances. Their focus is to create a supportive, healing environment rather than a rigid, rule-based institution. Their dedicated commitment upholds the individual values, respecting each person's desire for recovery. Another Road understands that every individual requires a unique and focused approach to their recovery. Certain modalities of treatment are introduced along with the tools necessary for each client. Located in a rural setting, their addiction treatment center for all genders provides the perfect setting for a transformative recovery experience and sense of belonging. The private residential treatment facility offers an unparalleled program with counselors that have in-depth knowledge based on varying years of experience in addiction. Another Road utilizes unique, individual-focused plans for recovery that address the complexities of drug addiction, alcoholism, and prescription medication misuse. They have a 65% success rate when clients follow their program. I know many people who have completed this program, and they have absolutely rave reviews. To learn more, visit anotherroad.ca. So you're acting out in, and at what point do you end up in sort of the youth justice system?
I think it would have been about 15, 16.
Okay.
So I ended up in a place called Te Punawai. So it's like a youth justice facility. So it's kind of like a jail before the jail.
Yes. Yeah.
I'd probably best describe it as like a holiday retreat home.
Okay.
Like it's got your swimming pools, your gyms, it's got all sorts of things, but it's obviously a whole bunch of troubled youth.
Right.
And a lot of the time I was in there, I would go into a place called secure unit. So I'd have tantrums and act out violently and all the rest of it. And, they'd get on their walkie-talkies and signal everyone, and they'd all come rushing in and restrain you and take you to this place called a secure unit, which I, to be honest, preferred. I actually preferred to be isolated. And I guess we'll go into that a bit deeper later, but isolation, you know what I mean, has been probably just as useful as drugs were, you know what I mean?
Right.
Secluding myself from civilization. So I spent a lot of time in the secure unit. So it was basically, I can't remember now, but it was, you were locked down a majority of the time. So you were just in your cell.
Lots of time to think.
Yeah, definitely, man. And, I'm an overthinker. So like, even though I kind of enjoyed being isolated, on the other hand, I didn't, you know what I mean? It was a very mixed thing.
For sure. I think in a place like that, it's easy to think ourselves into a kind of a bigger frenzy than we need to be. And, like people like us, I think most addicts are overthinkers. And you know what I mean? And we're able to somehow think ourselves into these make-believe situations that always, they're always worst case scenario. At least for me, that's the way I am, or I was for sure in active addiction. And as a kid, I'd think my way into situations that never happened and probably never would, but I thought they were real.
Yeah.
And, quite an imagination. So that's as a teenager. And so once you're sort of moving through life, then you're in and out of the youth justice system, or do you end up going at a certain point? Do they transfer you to adult security, or like?
Yeah. So what happened? I can't remember how many times. I'm pretty sure I was in there more than once. I can't like I say, it was when I was young, but I was definitely in and out of the system. So what happens is there was a lot of kids in there, like, kids that have done like murder and stuff like that. So they'll stay in that facility until they're old enough to be transferred to prison, to Christchurch men's or Christchurch women's or whatever it may be. Right. But for me, I got out, and then I'd go into, like, because throughout my life I've been in a lot of these like health camps, like a lot of organizations, like respite homes, foster homes, stuff like that. So I've been in and out of the system a majority of my whole teenage life, So I spent a lot of time in these different homes because, like I said, I was unmanageable, bro. Like for my mum and dad, I was a very hyperactive and angry kid. So I'd act out quite a lot, and like, for me, like, even admitting this now on a podcast is powerful, you know what I mean? Because throughout my life, I've always, pointed the finger at everyone else. It's everyone else's fault. But at the end of the day, in this present moment, I've acknowledged that there's always three fingers pointing back at me. There's some real power in that. But to answer the question, I was in and out of that system. Not necessarily in and out of that youth justice facility, but there's a thing, I think it's called Orama Tamariki now, but it was SIFS, Child, Youth and Family. So it's it's a system that troubled kids go into, and I was definitely in and out of that.
Yeah, it's I really like that you brought up that point, because and this is something that we talked about earlier as well, like, searching for external answers to, questions that can be answered internally. And I think along with that goes this sort of blame game, where, like you said, we're blaming other people for our problems. We're blaming our environment, our friends, our upbringing, everything else we blame. but we never take responsibility. And I want to applaud you for what you said. I mean, I think it's really important and really powerful that we do take responsibility for our actions, and we are able to come back to these things and say, no, I was the problem. You know, and I was desperately searching for it to be somebody else's problem. But you know, it just never works for us that way. You know, we can point fingers all we want, but we just push people away, and inevitably the problems get worse and worse and worse because we're not able to look at ourselves and, you know, take responsibility for our actions and the outcomes. So, you know, I really appreciate that you said that.
Like I say, man, I think it's been a real process to understand and to hold myself accountable. And I feel, you know, the treatment centers and everywhere I've kind of gone has really helped mold that, has helped kind of bind that together for myself, because, you know, for a long time, and I'm still, you know, in the process of learning who I am authentically, you know what I mean? Like throughout my whole life, I've kind of, you know, had that question of, you know, who am I? You know what I mean? Like I'm acting out on all these emotions, and I'm creating this external, you know, of this troubled kid and stuff. But at the end of the day, a lot of it's just hurt and pain and not being able to regulate my emotions properly, and not being able to communicate in a way that people could understand and actually help me. I'd rather, you know, have a tantrum and throw my toys out of the cot, because that was my way of saying, I need fucking help. I'm sad. You know what I mean? And I feel that a lot of people can relate to that. You know what I mean? Because it's
for sure. You know? I mean, I totally can relate to that, and I think many people will be able to, and that's it, right? Like, we feel like we don't have a voice sometimes, and that lack of a voice to say, I'm desperately needing and looking for love or help or acceptance or whatever it is. You know, the lack of our lack of ability to have a voice there. You know, it comes out in explosive, erratic behavior or mistreatment of others. And it's like, I think it's important for people to recognize that a lot of times when we're acting out like that and when we're treating people that way, that we're just desperately saying, like, somebody reach out, give me a hand, tell me I'm worth something. You know, love me a little bit. And we need that, but we're too, I don't know. I think some of us, maybe we're too arrogant or, you know, proud to say, I need help, you know, especially
100%.
when we're younger. I think it's really important, I think, for, you know, for men to be able to be comfortable to say, you know, I need to be loved. I need help. I can't do this on my own. You know, I'm not as strong as I'd like you to believe.
100%, definitely. I look, I couldn't agree more, man. Like, and I guess that's for me, has what's kind of brought me into the space that I'm in now. You know what I mean? You know, I've lost some really good friends to suicide, and you know, I've been there myself, and I've attempted pretty heavily, and like, realistically, I shouldn't be here, and I'm grateful that I am. The universe has decided that it's not my time, but I understand that headspace, and I really relate to, you know, wanting men to continue to talk about their internal world, and you know, it's something that doesn't just happen over a meme on social media, or it doesn't just happen with people going, just reach out, bro. You know, I'm always here. You know, to be honest, that's not enough. Like, it definitely helps, and it builds that rapport, and but sometimes, like, the last thing people want to do is get out of bed, let alone talk or communicate. You know what I mean? And I've been there myself, so it's you know, I think for me personally, it's been a real self journey, as well as people helping me from the external and guiding me. I've had to make choices, you know what I mean? And that's a real harsh reality to accept. You know, like, a real good mate of mine, you know, reached out to me, in amongst, you know, he was in addiction. I cleaned up. And it was a really challenging thing. And I put it out, you know, let's meet up at a meeting and catch up in a safe environment. And then not long after that, you know, I finish work and I get a message from his mum, and he's killed himself. You know what I mean? and it just breaks my heart, bro. You know what I mean? Because he's, one of millions of people caught in this windmill of, not even just addiction, just being caught in your mind. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I've been in prison. You know what I mean? I've been in the youth unit of the men's prison.
Yeah.
And I've been in cells a lot in my life, and I tell you, there's nothing worse than being in this cell. You know what I mean? There's
Yeah.
nothing worse than being in this prison, bro. I've been in some of the most roughest places that I could have not even imagined, but
Mm-hmm.
this is the roughest place, man, and I am my own worst enemy. And
Yeah.
like, for me to take ownership on that and do some inner work on that has been the best thing I've ever done, because now I start to understand, um, you know, how to get myself out of the rut, that I
Right.
wish, my friends that have taken themselves out could have understood as well. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
it's harsh, man.
It really is. And I mean, that's really powerful what you said. And, and I think it's a point to talk about, I think, as well. When you mentioned that, just saying, I'm here for you, reach out if you need me. Sometimes, I mean, yeah, that's a nice sentiment. That's a nice message to send to somebody, but I've been on the other end of that too. And I know that when somebody said that to me and I look at my phone looks to weigh about 1,000 pounds. I can't pick that thing up and reach out for help. Sometimes,
No, man.
sometimes we need to actually take action, because the person on the other end of that isn't strong enough at that point
No.
to reach out for the help. If we see the person struggling, it is our job to take action, not to just say, I'm here when you need me, or reach out. Like, that is it. It's a very nice thing. And I think everybody should have people in their lives that do that and say that. But, sometimes you say that, and then, like you say, a couple weeks later, the worst thing happens and we kick ourselves. Oh, we should have gone over. We should have knocked on the door. We should have dragged them to a meeting.
100%, man.
Yeah. And it's a touchy thing, right? Because sometimes, we say we can't force anybody into recovery. We can't, I just said we could drag them to a meeting, but like, we know that it doesn't, but in that initial stage of somebody showing the weakness and being man enough to say, I'm struggling, that's the time to say, okay, I'm coming to pick you up. We're going to a meeting, or we're just going to go out for a coffee. Let's chat and let's open up and let's start this dialogue and make it deep, because that's when they need it the most. And that's when they can't pick up the phone, or they can't get in their car and drive themselves to a meeting. It seems too
Yeah.
daunting for somebody, right?
100%.
Because something, I mean, when you talked about your friend, who's now passed, I mean, that's happened to me. I can't even count the amount of times, in my time in recovery, people have reached out, and I haven't done what I just said and gone to their house and picked them up and said, okay, let's just go. Let's go tonight. Let's not say next week. Let's not say tomorrow. Let's go tonight. Or like, if there's not a meeting tonight, let's just go grab coffee and have that connection. And then, when it was time, for, I'd say, let's go to a meeting this week. And a few days later, I find out that they've either overdosed and died or taken their own lives. And it weighs heavy on me. I know I didn't do that thing, but I feel like I could have been more active. I could have been the person to initiate. They did reach out for help. I could have, gone to them and said, okay, I know how you feel right now, because I do. And I know that you need me. I know that you need somebody to say, get in my car, let's go. Or let me take you out of this situation. And, like, let's talk heart to heart. Let's not talk surface shit. Let's actually open up and really talk about what's going on, because one addict to another addict, or another person suffering in any way, understands that other person's pain. We speak the same language. We don't necessarily have the same stories, but we speak the same language because we know what it's like internally, right?
Oh, 100%, man. And like you say, like for me, it's, I've lost a couple of close friends to suicide, and the other one, she was in a similar, situation. That she wasn't using drugs or anything, but she was just, just trapped and just had, I don't know the full story, and I never will, but it really hit home, when I'm standing there, looking at my friends in coffins, you know what I mean? And it totally, it really just, it runs home the reality of this, it's more powerful than I can even put into words, or as you know, bro, you know what I mean? This is real
Absolutely.
shit. This is life, or, jails, institutions, and death, that cliche saying, bro, you know what I mean? And I'm seeing it in front of my eyes, and I'm just going, holy fuck, you know what I mean? And like when I lost my bro, that really, and this lot of recovery, because I've had plenty of fucking relapse a lot,
Yeah.
this time it really fucking just sent home to me, fuck, like this is it, and I'll never say I'm never going to use drug, because I've been down that path as well. But just for today, man, I've made that decision and cemented my foundation to stay strong. But it's just, it's really real, and like words can't even express it, bro. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. And sometimes, I've had very similar situations, and that's sort of out of a terrible situation. The one positive that I can take from it is that I see the reality of it, and it wasn't me that went back out. It wasn't me that that had the unfortunate circumstance or that's not here anymore. But I can learn from that, and I can grow from that. And I'm heartbroken. I'm sad. I'll never probably recover from that, but it's motivation for me that it solidifies in my mind that I am just one drink, one drug, one misstep from fate.
100%, man.
And I think I hear it in the rooms all the time, right? Just when people relapse, you learn, let them relapse and learn from them, and use that as fuel for yourself and your own recovery. And it's always really hard. And I was like yourself, I tried for 10 years to get clean and sober, relapse after relapse. I probably relapsed about 50 times in 10 years before I finally said enough's enough. And that was after it would have been my 4th suicide attempt. And it was, I was just beaten down, sick and tired of being sick and tired. I couldn't live that way any longer. What was your path to the rooms of recovery like?
The reason I'm laughing is because I can relate to what you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I can relate to what you're saying. I'm definitely not laughing at you. I'm laughing with you, man. Like,
no, I get it.
My road to recovery's just been absolute fucking mayhem, mate. You know what I mean? Like, just the most fucked up shit, man. Like, that's the thing. Like, when you've got this unresolved trauma and this unhealed parts of you, you add substance to it, and it's just like it's dynamite, mate. You know what I mean? And you do things that you just never would have possibly imagined. And that is that is my story. I've done, like I said, I've attempted suicide a couple of times, pretty seriously. Stabbed myself, hung off a ceiling, gone in and out of treatment centers and prison a couple of times. Just doing really unfathomable things to people, to myself, hurting a lot of people. Just getting to that, rock bottom after rock bottom, and getting to that point where, like, I'm either gonna really make sure that I kill myself, or I'm really gonna make sure that I stay clean and sober and do everything that I can to be a better person. And like I said, losing my mate and being in those early stages of recovery a while back now, but of those stages, I made that decision, and I did everything that I possibly could to get to where I'm at today, man. And it's taken a long time, and it's been a very crazy process, but it's today, in this present moment, Chris, I have a life beyond my wildest dreams, bro. I still have struggles, don't get me wrong.
Sure.
I still have external situations that I struggle with, and still want to tell people to get fucked here and there, but you know what I mean?
We all do.
I still want to act out and do crazy shit, but I'm not, and when I do, it's only a very small, it's only very small situations rather than huge, messes to clean up, you know what I mean? And So my road to recovery has been a very messy one, and it's been, it's been very sad, and I've fucked a lot of people over. I've done a lot of really nasty shit that I never could have comprehended, and
Yeah.
I still live with that guilt today. But at the end of the day, I can't live in that guilt. I live with it, but I can't live in it. Otherwise, I just end up going around that merry-go-round again. So
Absolutely. Yeah. And speaking of that, I mean, are you in the rooms, like 12-step rooms?
yeah, I was like,
Okay.
currently I'm not doing any meetings at the moment, but I've
Okay.
definitely got a support group that's very similar to that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so have you gone through an amends making process?
Yeah, definitely. I haven't gone through, like, I've gone through the steps and stuff, but a pretty sad event happened. I'm pretty sure I told you about it. So I had a sponsor. He's passed away now. He ended up getting cancer and passed
Yeah.
away. And where I live is quite a small town.
Right.
And it's been pretty difficult. But I've definitely found a group. But to answer the question on amends, I'd say I've definitely done a lot of amends. Not through the 12-step side of things, but like, for me personally, I think the biggest amends I've done is getting clean and sober, and then creating the change.
Yeah.
And then going out and showing that externally to people that I've hurt and damaged. Yeah.
And I think that's the best amends to make, a living amends, right? That's where
100%.
you're showing the world that you're a different person, and you make the direct amends when it's possible, or when you feel it's needed. But I think the best thing that we can do as people in recovery who have changed our lives and changed our behaviors so much is model that behavior for others, and be that voice of recovery, and that and talk about our experiences just like this, right, where we can talk open forum and talk about some of the embarrassing things, some of the hard things, some of the really heartbreaking things that we've had to go through to get to where we are today. But like you said, we're not living in that guilt, that shame, or that remorse that we once did. We've learned from it, we're growing from it, and we're always progressing and always getting that sort of 1% better every day. And I can appreciate the fact that you're not going to 12-step meetings, but you have a support group. And I think it's really important for people to know about. I started in 12-step rooms myself. I've since moved to another fellowship, a Buddhist-based recovery fellowship called Refuge Recovery, and it just suits my life much better. But it doesn't mean that I didn't learn a lot from those 12-step rooms, and I didn't make a lot of very important connections, right? And I still have a lot of friends that are in the 12-step rooms, and it's not about what fellowship we belong to or how many meetings we go to. It's about the community we create outside the rooms, and the support networks we have for one another. And that can be face to face, over social media, like you and I, right? Like, I know that I could reach out to you if I need to, through a DM, if I'm going through something. If I know that you're awake and it's 2 a.m. my time and people aren't going to get back to me, I know that it'll be the next day for you, and you'll probably be you'll be able to answer me. Stuff like that really
100%.
helps, right? Building
definitely.
our networks, and having people in our lives that are constants, that know our stories, that can relate to us, and that don't judge us, and we don't feel like we have to impress or we have to explain ourselves. And they can take us for who we are and call us on our bullshit if they need to, right?
Yeah, definitely, bro. 100%.
Yeah. Talk to me a little bit about the Answers Within.
Yeah, so basically how that all come about is I was sitting in my lounge with one of my mates, and we initially actually wanted to create something based on, because I do a lot of poetry, bro. Like, I'm really into poetry. It's been a big thing for me in the way of expression and getting stuff out there. I tried the whole rapping thing, and it just failed. It just failed epically. I'm not built for that. But like I gave it a go. But anyway,
Hey, poetry is kind of like rapping anyways,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like
exactly, bro. And
that's
it's just, yeah. So initially the YouTube channel was going to be, so there is like little videos and stuff with poetry and me talking about life and all that type of stuff. I went through a phase of where I was kind of keeping myself anonymous, so putting like a balaclava. It was pretty out of it, but what I was trying to do is not make it about me, not make it about Danyon, make it about the message of my experience that people could relate to. And that's why I haven't done answers within video yet. I am going to, of course, but my goal is to get around 99 videos from men all around, from all walks of life, explaining their answers within themselves. And then hopefully I'll be able to do, say, the 100th one and explain it in full depth of what, well, I'm going to do this now, but you know what I mean? Like, give my perspective on what the answers within mean to me. Yeah. So it initially started with that, but now I came up with an idea of just asking people, including yourself. You're actually the first brother to be on answers.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, it really is, bro. It's cool. And now I'm on your podcast, so it's pretty awesome, man. Yeah, so it's basically, I've got just over 40 men on the YouTube channel currently, explaining their internal worlds, bro. It's really cool, man. Like it's a really cool. I'm really happy with it. Like it, as you know, with YouTube and all that type of stuff, it takes time.
It does,
and it's, and obviously my personality is like, come on, let's subscribe. So, you know what I mean?
Oh,
like,
me too.
The edit part of me is like, but like I've really tried just letting it authentically flow, not chucking, money, like trying to promote, all of that type of stuff. Like I promoted a post on Instagram and stuff, and then I realized, I don't want to do, I want it to authentically grow. And, when men want to do a video, and, I guess this is a perfect, opportunity and platform, to get that message out there to men that would potentially want to be a part of this project. There's no terms and conditions. All you literally have to do is do a short video on your cell phone and explain what the answers within mean to you. And when I say answers within, I've based it off my own experience of trying to find the answers externally, using drugs and alcohol, using violence, using these external sources to make myself feel better, or perceive that it was going to make me feel better, but it didn't. So it's all about that healing and acknowledging, that awareness, acceptance, and action, getting that awareness to be able to accept the reality, to then be able to take action on it. And I feel it all kind of comes from here. I think we need that external support in the way of counselors and networks and all that type of stuff. But, as you say, men's mental health, like for me, is a massive passion and something that, I want to continue to grow. And that's why I created the YouTube channel, man. Like it initially didn't start off like that, but now it is. And it's doing pretty good, man.
For sure. I feel like I want to do another video for you, actually, because I think originally I knew, I think because I was the first one, I think I was just like, okay, I wanted to get it to you right away. And it was just like, I think I did it. And it was, I sent it and I'm like, oh, that's not, it's not good enough or whatever. I think I should record another one, because it means something different to me today than it did when I recorded it. And I think I've got much more to say about it. And so even if there's two.
That's the beauty of this, though. Like your video that you did was perfect because it was at that present moment of, you know what I mean? And that's why I've created this YouTube channel, is to branch, to branch something that guys can look at 24/7, any given hour. You don't have to go to a meeting. You don't have to go to a you can literally go onto this YouTube channel and watch these videos. And a lot of them are quite short, so it's not going to take long. You know what I mean? And you can listen to these guys' perspectives on their internal worlds. You know what I mean? And like, I just, it really resonates, and it makes me happy, bro. Like that project's one of the best things I've ever done in my life. You know what I mean? It's not about getting the massive following and stuff. It's about helping men understand and acknowledge their emotions to be able to take action and create change. Realizing,
Absolutely.
like for myself, I am worthy. I am
Yeah.
worthy of loving myself. I am a good person. And a lot of that is coming from here now, rather than having to hear it from the external source.
Yeah. It's so important. I love that. I love that it's just that you've got that there. And like you said, for somebody who may not have a meeting available to them at the time where they really need it, or they're too shy or too proud to walk into a meeting, they can hop on the channel and listen to other men talk about something that for sure they're going to be able to relate to. Because if they're looking
Yeah.
at their life and wondering why am I constantly being unfulfilled by these external things that I'm grasping at, like many of us were and still sometimes are, right? To
Yeah.
be able to just
Yeah.
log on to
Definitely.
that in the privacy of your own home with headphones on or whatever, and get these messages of hope and this this relatability. It is, and you said this before we started recording. A meeting just takes two people, and that could be one person logging on to a YouTube channel and just listening to these people tell their perspectives, and that might be the little piece of hope that person needs to say, okay, it's time for a change. If they can do it, I can do it, and what they're saying makes sense. I need to look deeper. I need to go ask somebody, where do I go for a meeting, where do I go to talk about, where is there a men's group, this sort of thing. That channels like that can spark so much, I think, especially with men who are too proud to say it out loud. They can go on quietly to YouTube and hear other men open up and share and realize that it makes us stronger. It doesn't make us weak men. It makes us so much stronger to be able to open up and talk about internal things that really matter to us. And we all
100%.
feel, right? I don't know any man who is void of feelings, and
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
we do, and we need to be able to share that with each other without the fear of judgment or the feeling of shame or guilt or inadequacy, right? So talk about your life today. I mean, I know you had mentioned this is a life that you could have never imagined living, and what do you do on a daily today to ensure that you stay clean and sober, and that you're bettering your life and taking that that next step forward every day?
I think one of the most biggest things for me, and I really related to what you're saying about stepping away from the meetings and stuff like that, and going into something that better suits you. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm a part of a men's group, a men's circle. That's
Okay.
probably been one of the biggest things for me.
Yeah.
I went there last night. Actually, I haven't been for a while, but it was just so refreshing and so beautiful, bro. That you're sitting in a circle full of men getting vulnerable and honest with themselves. It's just for me, it's where my passion really lies, and what I want to kind of do in the future is help and work with youth and young men that are struggling, like I have, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But for me currently, man, like I've just kind of started back into, so I've done chefing in the past.
Right.
So I've just started back in that industry. And it's
Cool.
definitely not what I thought it was going to be. You know what I mean? It's definitely challenging.
Okay.
But, it is what it is at the moment. And I'm definitely grateful for it. And, if I do end up following through with the apprenticeship, I've just had the paperwork and stuff like that. Like I'm in the very early stages of it.
Right.
And I guess for me, that the reason I'm so grateful and have this life belong my wildest dreams is because I've acknowledged and realized now that I have a choice.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if I go through the chefing thing and I'm not really feeling it, and it doesn't go how I want it to, and I want to go do something else, I can. You know what
Sure.
I mean? Like
Yeah.
I can do whatever I want. And when I was caught in addiction and had that unresolved trauma and stuff that was holding me back, that was chaining me to the wall,
Mm-hmm.
I felt like I didn't have a choice. You know what I mean? And today I'm I'm living in the conviction of who I am authentically and learning who I am authentically. And I've got an amazing fiance, and
Yeah.
I've got an amazing house and a roof over my head and clothes on my back. I'm not manipulating and conning people for money, and because that's where I've come from, man.
Sure.
I've been, a con artist. I've basically been one of those people that would help, like, would steal off you and help you look for it.
Right.
I was a piece of shit. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And
Again, I'm laughing only because I understand. I'm not
yeah, you
laughing,
100% get it, don't
Yeah.
you? Yeah. But it's, I'm not that person today, man. I'm and I think one of the other big things that have really helped me in this healing journey is looking at breath work.
Okay.
Breathing has been one of the biggest things that have helped me release a lot of this trauma and a lot of this anger and stuff that I've been holding on to for a very long time, and just meditating, man, like being able to just sit within myself and find that peace.
Right.
Because, I remember going into treatment for the first time when I was, I think, 18. I got out of jail, and this lady that's passed away now, she was a counselor. She asked me, if there's anything that you can take out of this, like anything at all, what is it? And I'm like, I just want peace. I just want to feel peace. I just want some peace within myself. And now I've got peace, bro. And like I said, I still have those struggles where, it can be chaos and things can seem really overwhelming, but I have these tools like breath work and the men's group and the network and the answers within and these things that tie me and hold me accountable to,
Right.
to bring me back to level. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's amazing, man. And I really appreciate what you said about the breath work and the meditation, because that stuff is so important to me as well. And I had never looked at the way I was breathing, and I had no idea. I would stop breathing. Like I would exhale, I'd exhale, and I wouldn't take a breath in until I was like, oh shit, I forgot, I gotta breathe. I was holding
Same, man.
so
Same.
much, and when I'm like consciously aware of my breath, life is so different. I'm actually able to handle things. I'm not reactive the way I used to be. I can calm myself when need be, and I can identify. Now I feel it in my breathing before I feel it before I act out in emotion. Do you know what I mean? So I can feel when I'm getting like, okay, you're getting to that place where you're about to explode or you're about to say or do something stupid. And I notice it in my breath, and it's as simple as, okay, take a step away, take 4 deep breaths, and I'm not in that place anymore. And just simple things like that I was never aware of, and it changed everything.
It does, man. It
Yeah.
really does. And it kind of goes back to that external stuff. It kind of, when stuff is chaotic and you start, tapping into that breath, it makes everything a lot more clearer, and you can see things a lot more calmer rather than, what am I, just breathe, just bring yourself back into that. And it sounds, la-di-da-di. And, if you said this to me, 5 years ago, just take a breath. It's like, fuck off, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
I'm so grateful for it, man. Like, and it's just simple as just breathing, Chris. You know what I mean?
I know. It's so funny too. I think in recovery, it's I think all of us say this, if you were to tell me this 5, 10, 15 years ago, I probably would have punched you in the mouth, like that would never be me. And, I would, if you told me that I'd be sitting down in a group of, with a group of men meditating together, working on our breath and doing, I'd be like, there's no way, that's hippie bullshit. Right. I'm not, that's not me. And here I am doing it and loving it. It's amazing. And that stuff is what allows me to be the person I am today, the partner I am to my wife, the stepfather I am to my stepson, and and the friend I need to be to my friends. And if I didn't have that stuff in my life, I wouldn't be good at any of that stuff. I'd be struggling still. So all that stuff that I would have called hippie bullshit is the things that saved my life today. So it's funny how life works.
It is, bro. It really is. Yeah.
Anyways, man, I really want to thank you for coming on and chatting with me. It's been an absolute pleasure. It's like I said at the beginning, just to have a face-to-face like this, it's so rewarding for me, because I've been following you for a long time, and you inspire me, when I see your posts, and when you message me, or just like simple things, reacting to a story and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
to be able to have a conversation like this, it means so much to me. And I just really I want to say thank you, and I really appreciate you, man. It's been an honor to sit down with you like this. For anybody looking to connect with you, whether it's on the YouTube channel, Instagram, is there anything that you'd like me to link on the show notes?
Yeah, definitely, man. So, the Instagram that a good friend of mine set up, because I'm really shocking when it comes to all of that. Like, I need help with that type of stuff, eh?
Yeah.
Like, I really commend you on doing this podcast and stuff like that, bro. Because
Thanks,
it
man.
isn't, sorting out all this technical jargon and that it gets
Have
quite
lots of help.
confusing, man, but,
I'm like you. I need the help.
Yeah, exactly, bro. So the Instagram is the.answers within. I'm pretty sure you follow it anyway.
I do.
Yeah, so that, like, if any guys do want to get involved in the project, just give us a message on there, and I'll give you some more information. The YouTube channel is just simply Answers Within Project, and it's got a tree of life. It's a pretty distinctive logo. But obviously, if you go onto the Instagram, it has the link in the bio and all that stuff.
Perfect. And I'll link all that stuff to the show notes, so people can just click on there and get in touch with you. And I would encourage anybody out there who would like to send that message about the Answers Within, to message Danyon. And actually, it doesn't take a lot. Like he said, it's you can take 30 seconds, 3 minutes, whatever it takes, to send a message or record a message and send it to him and be a part of the project. And your video could possibly save somebody's life, and and absolutely will be changing somebody's life. So I would encourage anybody to go check you out there. Again, man, thank you so much. It's been an honor and a privilege. It's I hope to be able to connect with you again sometime very soon.
Awesome. Thanks, Chris. Vice versa, man. It's been really good.
Amazing, man. All right, you take care.
You too, brother.